Oh, my friends, we did it again. I want to thank you for making 1010 Wins your number one choice for news in all of New York.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good morning. We're at 25 degrees at 7:40 on this Monday, January 27th. I'm Scott Stanford. Here's what's happening. After President Trump threatened Colombia with tariffs and sanctions, the president of South American nations says they will now accept flights of deported migrants coming in from the U.S. NYPD's hate crime unit investigating the vandalism of an Israeli restaurant in Brooklyn. Mayor Adams calling it a despicable act of anti-Semitism. Speaking of the mayor, he's not feeling great these days, so he's checking in with a few doctors this week. His public schedule very limited for now. Today is Holocaust Remembrance Day. 80 years ago, nearly 7,000 prisoners liberated from the Auschwitz concentration camp. Are you guilty of committing acts of infidelity? No, not that infidelity. There's another kind you may be guilty of that experts say could cripple your relationship. Checking sports, it's the Chiefs and Eagles headed to the Super Bowl 59. Rangers lose to the Avalanche. AccuWeather, not a bad day today. Mostly sunny skies. We're going to get up around 41 degrees. Winds News Time, 7:41. Traffic and transit. Let's get you back out to Andre Ferro.
Trouble on Long Island. If you're traveling on the Southern State Parkway, here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. Right by Straight Path as you travel west by exit 37 and approaching Route 110 in Farmingdale and Amityville. There's a crash knocking out a lane. Delays go all the way back to the Saginaw Coast. You might want to hop on Sunrise Highway for a few. Westbound as you continue on the southern, approaching the Meadowbrook is busy, and the northbound Meadowbrook coming up from Sunrise Highway is bumper to bumper. And the westbound LIE not traveling very fast right now as you pass the Seaford Oyster Bay. More delays as you approach the Queens border. Now, if you're traveling in Queens, southbound Whitestone Expressway, that crash finally did clear, heading towards the Van Wyck and heading towards City Field and Linden Place. But you still have delays that go all the way back to the Bronx on the Whitestone Bridge. And here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Go with the Throgs Neck, Queens or Bronx bound. And the Triborough Bridge has lots of volume because of a southbound crash on the FDR in the 70s. So that's causing extra volume on the southbound Harlem River Drive. The West Side Highway, way better in and out of Manhattan. Inbound George, you're looking at least 35 minutes. Southbound 46 or southbound Palisades and eastbound 46, very busy. The inbound Lincoln and Holland going to run you 35 minutes of the inbound Holland, 25 of the inbound Lincoln. Next report, 7:51. Andre Ferro, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, you guys remember that crazy story about the state trooper who looked to have been shot back in October on the Southern State Parkway in West Hempstead? And then things started to smell a little fishy with the inconsistency of the stories by the officer. Well, there are some new developments in that case. Sophia Hall has more for us this morning from the courthouse in Garden City.
Thomas Macia, his mother and his father walked into the state police headquarters here in Farmingdale at 5:40 this morning. Authorities say they turned themselves in to face charges. The trooper is charged with official misconduct, falsely reporting a crime, and tampering with physical evidence. The parents each charged with criminal possession of a firearm. Back in October, the 27-year-old trooper claimed he was shot after trying to help a motorist on the side of the roadway. Authorities later released the whole story was just not true. Macia was suspended without pay. Macia was shot in the leg and was released from the hospital 2 days later. Sophia Hall, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Farmingdale, Long Island.
Well, the president of Colombia did a little flip-flop on his decision to take in U.S. military planes carrying deported migrants. President Petro initially said his country would not be accepting those flights until the U.S. came up with a plan that treats migrants with dignity. Well, with that change of mind, President Trump says he will not impose tariffs on the South American nation. Last night, the White House says Colombia has agreed to accept the flights.
Not only did the White House press secretary put a statement explaining that the president of Colombia agreed to everything, but the president of Colombia himself reposted announcing the agreement with all of the language coming from the White House. So it seems like things have de-escalated successfully and the tariffs are now on hold.
That's correspondent Lilia Luciano. Colombia's president said in civilian planes, without being treated like criminals, we will receive our fellow citizens. Trump's border czar Tom Homan telling ABC News 500 immigrants suspected of coming into the U.S. illegally and convicted of more serious crimes were put on flights out of the country. Homan says there's lots more to come.
It's not okay to violate laws of this country. We have millions of people standing in line, taking the test, doing a background investigation, paying the fees, that want come in the right way.
Chicago is just one city federal officials are targeting to find people they believe to be illegal immigrants.
Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove, Border Czar Tom Homan, and other DOJ leaders are here to begin making immigration arrests in the city, something Homan promised would happen shortly after President Trump returned to the White House. Chicago police are not assisting in these efforts that have resulted in at least one confirmed detention.
That's reporter Andy Dane. The agencies reportedly involved in the roundup include the FBI, DEA, ATF, and the U.S. Marshal Service. Wins News Time, 7:45.